projecting the Toronto Maple Leafs goalie roster for 2018-19 season. Starting with the one roster lock, who is Frederik Andersen. He was in a lot of Vezina talk last year. I believe he ranked somewhere between the 3 and 5 spot. He faced the most rubber of any goalie in the NHL last season, in the 17-18-19 season. And he's just getting better because of it. Starting with some of the stats here, he's 6'4", 230 pounds. He's 28 years old. This will be his 6th season coming up. So he's been in the league for 5. In last season, in the regular season, he played 66 games. A lot of games. There's talk that they're going to try and bring that number down because he kind of burnt himself in the playoffs last season against Boston. Maybe bring that down by 6 or 7, give or take. In any case, in 66 games, he had a 2.81 goals against with a .918 save percentage and 5 shutouts. 5 shutouts. Now, that's important because in his entire regular season career, he's had 15. So he had 1/3 of them last season. So his career stats are 257 games, because don't forget, he had 3 seasons with Anaheim before he played 2 with Toronto. And he had a 2.55 goals against, which is better than what he had last season, and an overall average of .918. Now, his playoff stats are a bit different. They're kind of a bit of a roller coaster. In last season against the Boston Bruins, in 7 games, he had a 3.76 goals against, a .896 save percentage with 0 shutouts. And the whole team kind of didn't play well around him, especially the defense. So those numbers aren't really totally his fault. Yes, he could have played better. Was there a goal or two that he should have had? Of course. But I think it was more indicative with some of the defense that surrounded him. His career playoff stats are in 41 games, he had an average of 2.61 with a .912 save percentage and 2 shutouts. So obviously last year's numbers really brought those down. If you look back to some of his playoff numbers in Anaheim, they were better, with the exception of maybe his first year. I think only his first year in the playoffs were his numbers close to as bad as they were last season. So I don't think that's indicative of the kind of player, the goalie he's going to be in the playoffs. I think with a little bit of tweaking, bringing back his game total, and I think he'll be much better in improving the defense, obviously. We'll see how that goes. Now, let's talk about the 3 players on the bubble, which is where the more interest lies, where the debate lies. There's Curtis McElhinney, there's Garrett Sparks, and there's Calvin Pickard. Now, Curtis McElhinney has been the backup the past couple of seasons. The Leafs originally picked him up on waivers off of Columbus. He was having a good season at the time. Columbus wanted to give a rookie the spot, though. Toronto picked him up right away. And the first season, he did okay. I think he had a .914 save percentage. It wasn't bad. But last year, he had a career year. Now, he's 6'2", 200 pounds, and he's 35 years old. He's up there. And he's been in the league for about 13 seasons. But he's been up and down between the AHL, of course, in the earlier part of his career, and the ECHL. And in any case, his last year numbers in 17-18 regular season, in 18 games, he had a 2.14 goals against and a .934 save percentage with 3 shutouts. He's only had 8 shutouts in his entire career, and he had 3 of them last year in 13 seasons. There was a 8-game span in which he went undefeated. He went 7-0-1. He's also a terrific presence he's a good presence he's a good veteran presence in the locker room. Babcock loves him. He's very no frills, low maintenance goalie. And so that's what he has going for him. Can he repeat those numbers again? I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's the outlier. His playoff numbers, there's really not much to really talk about there because he had one game last year and he stepped in for Anderson, and in his career he's had two. So 5.07, .826 save percentage, career 3 point. They're just the numbers don't really mean much. The team was already playing badly around the goalies to begin with, and he just went in there and continued to get shelled. So let's move on to my favorite for the upcoming job this year, which is Garrett Sparks. Now, Garrett Sparks he's 6'3", 201 pounds, and he's 25 years old, 10 years less than McElhinney. He's had one NHL season, sort of, 17 games, and he's been in the AHL for 6 seasons. In the only season he came up to the Leafs, he didn't do too well. That was a few years ago in the 2015-16 season, where he played 17 games with a 3.02 goals against, a .893 save percentage, and 1 shutout, which he received. It was a hiccup burp at the same time. Which the shutout in which he got in his first game that he played, which I think was a Leaf record, against the Edmonton Oilers. And he did an interview right after the game, and he was just in tears. He was emotional. And since then, I think everyone's really been rooting for him. But unfortunately, his numbers didn't really reflect that in the remaining of the games, hence why these numbers went up or went down in terms of save percentage. So, but ever since in the last 3 years, I think his game has really changed. He's gone through a couple of different goalie coaches. He's made a lot of changes in his equipment and so on and so forth. He's a different person mentally in the way he thinks the game. Because last year, playing for the Toronto Marlies, he won Goalie of the Year, the Vezina equivalent in the NHL, in the AHL, and he won the Calder Cup. So his 2017-18 regular season numbers were 43 games with a 1.79 goals against, a .936 save percentage with 6 shutouts. 6 shutouts. That's in his career stats. He had 121 games in the AHL again, with a 2.12 goals against, a .927 save percentage with 15 shutouts. Those are some killer numbers. In the playoffs, last year in the playoffs, on their way to the Calder Cup, he played 19 games with a 2.22 goals against, very respectable, a .915 save percentage, not great, but still pretty good. Still good. Not pretty good, but good, with 2 shutouts. And in his career playoff numbers, which is 25 in 25 games, which is only 6 more than what he played the year before, he had 2.26 goals against average, and again, a .915 save percentage with 3 shutouts. So he had a lights-out year last year with the Toronto Marlies, the AHL club of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And I don't see how the Leafs don't give him this backup job, especially if he does well in training camp. Right now, as we're speaking, the Leafs are playing the Buffalo Sabres. I believe it's their 3rd game right now, and he's in net, and it's 4-3 Maple Leafs at the moment, and it's in the 3rd period. The couple of goals he let in were a little, I don't know, questionable, but the first one was definitely his fault. In any case, he's been battling hard between him and Curtis McElhinney through training camp for this position, and up until this game, he's been edging him out. So I really hope he gets it, because Calvin Pickard, who was the third man, who's the spare tire here, is also a decent backup who the Toronto Maple Leafs picked up from Colorado last season for goalie depth. And he has half-decent numbers. He backed up Sparks for the most part and played a decent number of games for the Toronto Marlies last year in the AHL. And there's been rumors that Kyle Dubas, the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, has been trying to trade him since August. So the reason being that none of these three guys can go through, can qualify for waivers. So if they try to send them down to the AHL, they'll definitely be plucked. One or two of them, if they decide to do that, which I don't know why they would. So my point being that if they couldn't, the season started today or tomorrow, and they haven't been able to make a trade yet, and they, for some reason, they don't want to budge the numbers, between their forward and their defense roster, so they, which only allowed them to keep, two goalies, and I had to pick, one player, what two goalies would I want to lose through waivers here. I think it would definitely be McElhinney and Pickard. It would not be Sparks. I mean, yeah, McElhinney had a great year last year, and he's worked his butt off, and he's great in the dressing room, and Babcock loves him, and he's stable, and he's, this and that. But really, Sparks is 10 years younger. He's on the dawn of his career. McElhinney's on the dusk. And that's, if you look at his overall numbers, that's an outlier. He had a great season, and I understand that, but you got to give Garrett Sparks this chance. He's done everything to prove and to earn, a backup spot, to at least give him a look. So unless you're going to trade him for, for some, I don't know, another decent prospect, which I doubt will happen, because everyone in the league knows of the Leafs' predicament in terms of these three goalies not being able to pass through waivers. So they're not going to be able to pick up more than, fifth, maybe tops fifth round pick for one of these guys. Maybe a half decent prospect. I doubt it, but so it's like trade him. Trade two of these guys, and I'm really pulling for this guy here. Anyways, that's all the time we have. Who would you pick to be the backup for the Toronto Maple Leafs next season between these three goalies? And what teams do you think need a backup goaltender now that you think the Leafs could trade with? And if they did trade, what do you think they could get for one of these three players? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thanks very much for watching. Hit that like button if you liked the video, and pulverize that subscribe button if you really liked it. And if you have any hockey geek friends, please don't hesitate to share away. I'll see you soon.